Hello, all humans and all non-humans. Welcome to another episode of Judgemental Reading, only for humans. Welcome back. I think this is the time that you finally get to see my new hair. And it's like super faded. I'm also still trying to play around with the mic so that I'm not having as much interference. And the audio is still good, so I'm trying to play with like distance and positioning and stuff. And since I don't edit, you'll see me look at this, look down all this all the time. But yes, so I have gone, it's supposed to be, literally I picked two colors, blue and magenta. And I have like 15 colors in my hair after it's all faded away. So yes, magenta down at the bottom and then blue up at the top. But like now I have some green and gray and yellow and purple and pinks and orange. So I have the full rainbow. I have basically like oscillated between mermaid hair, unicorn hair, and swamp thing hair, as I call it. My favorite is swamp thing hair. Yeah, this is the color scheme that I'm going with for a while. Kind of blue and then magenta down at the bottom. I'm probably gonna redo it at some point next week. So maybe next time that you see me, it'll be a little bit more vibrant and not as faded as it is, but it's okay. Also, it's really long for those of you guys that have been watching my videos from the beginning, so you can see the purple really well. Purple pink. It's the pink, which I like more. You can see the pink really well in my back. So the back is pink. So, but for those of you who've been watching my videos for a while, you've probably seen how long my hair has been growing. So yeah. I'm also going to let the sides grow out again. You can't really tell in my videos. Oh, you can see some of my whites. I have a lot of gray hairs, which I love my gray hairs. I'm not dyeing the gray hairs. I don't know if I'm going to dye the sides as they grow out or if I'm just going to let them grow out my natural color. We'll see. I don't know. I play around with my hair quite a bit, if you couldn't tell. So, fairly quick intro. Eden's hanging out a little bit. She's like, it's cold. I don't like being cold. I like being cozy and comfortable. I just want to be under a blankie. So I don't know if she's going to hang out. Probably not. She usually likes to go underneath my hoodie, or if I have a blankie on me, she'll go underneath my blankie, but I don't know. Janita. Not a lot going on. Y'all know the world's on fire. The United States is on fire. Woohoo. We're all just trying to survive the best we can. So, yeah, I'm gonna do. I think it's a nice time to jump into this crappy smut fantasy book. Yeah. Okie dokie. So, without further ado, and me playing around with this thing a bit. Hold on. I'll try my best. It's gonna be really hard not to just like blow on it, but anyways, maybe I'll just be like, woo. I don't know. Again, trying to figure out what works best for this. All right. So another chapter of Kiss of the Basilisk by Lindsay Straub. We are going into chapter 9. Eden seems like she's gonna just hang out here on the pillow. So Eden fluff right there. I don't remember where I left off. I think it was the prince. Anyways. Memorable book, huh? Tem had no idea what to expect the next night in the cave. To be fair, she never knew what to expect from Caspin, whether he would be attentive or distant, caring or cold. Would he ask her about her date with the prince? Would she have to tell him about how they had dinner on the patio, how Leo hadn't kissed her? Or would Caspin pretend that the prince didn't exist, like he always did? The last time they were together, Caspin had tried to taste her. Ugh, it's so gross, the euphemism. Just say go down on her, which is still a euphemism, but like, sheesh. There's just different ways of saying things. Whatever was in store for her tonight, Tem was quite sure she wasn't ready for him to do that. And then there was the fact that they hadn't had sex. I also just recently watched a video about like prose in some of the modern romantasy books and just like how, again, we don't know if it's a issue with editors, issue with self-publishing, issue with large publishing. Right. Part of Tem wanted to yell at Caspin for holding out on her. She couldn't understand his behavior, and she didn't know how much longer she could survive without an explanation for it. The other part of her was terrified of pushing him away. The connection was already perilous to begin with. The very last thing she wanted was to give him a reason to sever it. Her worries followed her throughout the day, on the farm while she did chores, to the bakery where Vera was still infuriatingly absent, and all the way to the entrance of the cave. But the moment she saw Caspin standing next to the fireplace, they fell away. There was no trace of worry in his stony features, no sign that he had any trouble whatsoever. His eyes were focused on her and her alone, and she knew she wasn't imagining the heat in them. Come here, Tem. She would have come whether he told her or not. When they were finally toe-to-toe, Caspin raised a single finger to her chin and tilted her face up to his. With that isolated motion, Tem allowed herself to forget the date with the prince. It was clear Caspin wasn't going to ask about it anyways. She forgot her anger, her frustration, her insecurity. She remembered that these precious hours in the cave were all they had, and she didn't want to waste them talking. What shall we do tonight? Caspin murmured. Tem couldn't believe he would ask her that. It undermined everything the training was supposed to be. It put her in charge. She wondered if it was his way of appeasing her, if he knew somehow she needed to feel in control right now. She took a moment to think about her answer. There were 100 things she wished to do, but only one thing that made sense to do tonight. Something that, if Tem did it, she might gain the courage to receive it in return. I want to taste you. That's why I'm making a face. There's so many different words. I would, if I said that to a partner of mine, I'd watch, everybody would be dry. There would be not a single erection, not a single drop of fluid, just, what did you just say? I don't know. Maybe in different context, in different moment, I don't know. It's just cringe. Like, I don't like it. I don't find it very sexy. Let's just say. Primal hunger bloomed in Caspin's eyes. As you wish. No, I hate it. Leave that book and movie alone. Then nothing to you. As you wish, he said quietly, his fingers slipping down the expanse of her throat. On your knees. See, that's hot. That. There's, lean into it. This whole, just oh, sorry, that probably might have been loud, but, I want to taste you. No, on your knees. Yes. Oh, God. Oh, no. Why? Why are they gonna ruin everything? All right. Was worshipping... All right, hold on. Let's start from the beginning. Me trying not to... Primal hunger bloomed in Caspin's eyes. As you wish, as he said quietly, his fingers slipping down the expanse of her throat. On your knees. Was worshipping one god really so different from worshipping another? Tempha knelt for Caspin the same way she knelt for Cora, looking up at him as he untied his trousers and slipped them down his hips. He gave her no instructions. Instead, his fingers laced into her hair. I forgot my mask in my bedroom and I don't feel like grabbing it. I just fine. Let me cover my shame. There. My shame has been covered. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Right. He gave her no instructions. Instead, his fingers laced into her hair, grasping the back of her neck and pulling her forward. His other hand held his cock level with her mouth. He paused, and with what felt like slow motion, Tem's lips parted. Caspin let out a tortured moan as her wet tongue touched his velvet skin, soft and hard, water and stone. Tem saw his eyes roll back as he moved her head with his hand, coaxing himself farther and farther down her throat, just as he taught her how to touch him. Caspin taught her this too. He directed her movements, guiding her back and forth, up and down. She was taking the very core of him inside her, tasting the part of him that exemplified his formidable power. All of this is gross. All of this is so... Oh, no. And the next line is worse. Okay, all of this is gross. This takes all agency away from her. This is very... What's the word? Infantilizing, like, oh, he's teaching her by like grabbing her head and like moving her. Like, there's no empowerment in this. And then the fact that it's like, oh, that's his core. I mean, when I heard that, she was saying the core of him inside of her. Like, there's something about fellatio that like can be very dehumanizing. There is a way of writing about it that empowers the person that is performing the act. This is the opposite. This is very like disempowering for Tem. He directed her movements, guiding her back and forth, up and down. She was taking the very core of him inside her, tasting the part of him that exemplified his formidable power. Apparently his dick is power. And yet Tem felt power too. No, there's nothing about this that says she's powerful. She's not. This is not done from the point of view of her. It's no. There could be no question of Caspin's pleasure. He was gripping her hair like his life depended on it, and with such an important part of him in her mouth, Tem wondered if maybe it did. He pulled her closer, deepening their union, sinking into her one glorious inch at a time. No breathing. This woman's just not breathing. She's a complete virgin, has never done any kind of sexual act at all whatsoever, and just deep throating this entire time. All right, cool. Eventually, his grip on her loosened, and the message was simple. Now you. Tem obeyed without hesitation, continuing the motion, feeling saliva build at the corners of her mouth as she took him down her throat, trying to consume as much of him as possible. Again, this whole section is just focused on his pleasure. She's got very little agency. She's not very present in this at all. I mean, she's not really present in this book. It's really sad. Tem built over the saliva, but there was only so much she could take. Obviously, also playing on the fact that he's got like this ginormous cock and blah blah blah. Like, there's no. I hate this scene. She'd always known he was big. It was undeniably true. But to have him in her mouth meant feeling his length in a different way. It meant her lips straining to take him, her jaws being pried open beyond what she thought was physically possible. When he hit the back of her throat, she winced. Relax, Tem. His voice came from somewhere above her. Tem tried to obey, but it was an impossible request. She couldn't take him. He was simply too big. Suddenly, Caspin pulled away, leaving her empty. Is this supposed to be written for women? Am I getting the audience wrong? Is this supposed to be written for men? Because this, I could totally see being a fantasy for a dude. No, not for a woman, or maybe this is made for gay men. I don't know. Suddenly, Caspin pulled away, leaving her empty. Then, to Tem's complete shock, the basilisk knelt down in front of her. Her heart skipped several beats as his chest, then his shoulders, then finally his blazing eyes came into view. You must relax, Tem. It is the only way. Even when he was kneeling, he was still taller than her. He shook her head, looking down at her hands. I don't think I can. Tem. He cupped her chin in his palms, pulling her gaze up to his. You can do anything. Of that, I am certain. This rah, I believe in you, you're amazing, should not be for, so you can take my cock in your mouth. Like that. There is no sexual liberation in this. There's none. This is humiliating and done badly. And I keep coming back being like, maybe I'll enjoy this book. No, I hate it. I hate it with a burning passion. This is awful. This is a really shitty book. This is really shitty writing. Really shitty characters. They're all awful. This whole thing is awful. Am I really going to finish this book? Oh my God. How many pages did I say there was? 500 pages. Got it. Fantastic. We're only on page 100. Okay. His eyes were completely black. So is my soul. They bore into her like bottomless pools, darker than the deepest corners of the cave, darker than death itself. Tem felt a part of herself cower at the sight, but another part liked what she saw. She recognized his darkness and felt a kinship with it. She's also dark inside. Oh my God. Maybe I'm just going to set this book on fire. Caspin shifted his weight back, lowering himself even farther for her. Try it from here, he said. If you need to rest, use your hand. He released her chin, letting her determine when she was ready to try again. In the absence of his touch, Tem took a moment to simply breathe. Yeah, which you haven't done this whole time, trying to deep throat what's supposed to be a fucking anaconda, apparently. Her mouth felt numb, and her palms were damp. All of her was damp. That almost sounds like a bad joke. Tem, Caspin whispered. Do you want to stop? She shook her head. No. He leaned in, and the temperature rose several degrees. Are you sure? A fire flared within her. Of course she was sure. She'd been sure ever since she was 13 and realized she wanted to kiss a boy. No. Okay. I think I just had a moment of seriously thinking of stopping this. My body did not like that. All right. Caspin was the one slowing their progress. Caspin was the one holding her at arm's length. Caspin was the one who refused to have sex with her, even when his duty demanded it. The repetition in this is shit. I can't get through a fucking chapter of this book quickly enough because I stop at every fucking sentence because of how shitty this writing is. Holy smokes. Maybe I need to do this drunk. She was sure, even if he wasn't. Without another word, she lowered her head, except this time she didn't try to take him all at once. This time she let herself explore, lifting him with her hand and trailing kisses all the way down his shaft. She swirled her tongue where the base of his cock met the swell of his balls, immediately aware of the way his hand returned to her hair when she did it. Now, with Caspin on her level, Tem could relax. She took her time, pacing herself, even though the last thing she wanted was to go slow. His cock was warm, every vein standing out beneath taut skin. Tem worked her way back up his shaft, taking only his head into her mouth and sucking on it gently. Caspin gave a sharp intake of breath, his fingers tightening in her hair. When she was sure she had his full attention, she took him as deep as she could, over and over, losing herself in a motion that felt as steady as the tides. Vera had made it sound so clinical, like a transaction to be performed, but that wasn't true at all. Tam could never have anticipated there would be a rhythm, a harmony, a flow to it that was as natural as her own heartbeat. They need to fucking stop with these trio repetitions. Like, it's unnecessary. It's fodder. It gets annoying. We literally just had repetition. We've had repetition like the three, a one, a two, a three, the one, the two, a three, like just this 3 times in this page, in one page so far. With each dip of her head, Caspin's groan grew more desperate. Eventually, his body began to move beneath hers. Tem breathed through her nose as he took control, thrusting into her mouth with sudden urgency, tilting his hips up so that his cock slid smoothly in her throat, then out, then in again. Tem closed her eyes, surrendering to him completely. She realized he was sending her pulses, taking care of her while she took care of him, ensuring she felt just as much pleasure as he did. She could barely stand the heat between her legs. Her wetness was dripping down her thighs, and even if the task at hand didn't require so much focus, she would have tried to touch herself at the same time. At some point during the experience, Caspin's presence entered her mind. His consciousness curled around hers like a vice, gripping her at the base of her skull. The edges of her vision blurred, and she was suddenly lightheaded. A moment later, strength entered her, and she realized it came from Caspin. She felt his energy join with hers, her mind clearing immediately as he fortified their connection. Tem found she could go on, quicker than before, and she sensed Caspin's approval, feeling it in the back of her brain as if he were nodding inside her mind. It was an overwhelming sensation being intertwined with him like this. Tem knew she could do nothing but give in. There was no fighting his presence, and she didn't want to anyway. She only wanted to please him, and it was clear she was doing exactly that. Caspin's breathing was ragged and strained. His thighs were slick with sweat. Tem knew from the way his moans had progressed that he was completely at her mercy. She was his weakness, the one thing he could never be able to fully resist. He needed what she was giving him. His cock felt unbearably rigid. It was becoming impossible to take him all the way down her throat. He seemed different than earlier, harder somehow, as if there were metal beneath his skin rather than muscle. Tem remembered that he had told her to use her hand if she needed to rest. So she pulled away, releasing him from her mouth and grasping him with her hand instead. The moment she raised her head, Caspin's lips crashed down onto hers. The kiss had none of the controlled grace she had become accustomed to. Instead, it felt as if Caspin were trying to extract her soul from her body as he tore her dress off her and yanked her forward, pulling her onto his lap so she was straddling him while she stroked him. She sent pulse after pulse, some of them so intense they bordered on pain. Every time Tem tried to catch her breath, he sent another, each one piercing her deeper than the last. It was overwhelming in the extreme. Just when she thought she couldn't go on, Caspin's hands joined hers, his long fingers tightening her grip around his cock, quickening her stroke to a lightning pace. They were moving in tandem now, kissing with feverish intensity, every inch of her body touching every inch of his. Tim was quite sure if he sent one more pulse, she would explode. A split second later, her hand felt as if it were on fire. The air tasted suddenly sharp, like metal. Then Tim looked down. There was a dark red streak on Caspin's cock. At first, she didn't understand what she was seeing. It wasn't until she lifted her hand that she realized her palm was bleeding. Tem couldn't comprehend the sight. She looked questioningly up at Caspin, and her shock only increased. His eyes were shut, his jaw clenched tight. There was smoke rising from his skin. But it wasn't skin at all. It was scales, and they were interlocking and spreading across his chest at an alarmingly fast rate. The same scales were on his cock. They had rubbed her hand raw. Tem watched in horror as his body began to change before her eyes, his torso elongating, his shoulders expanding. Too late, Tem understood what was happening. Caspin was transitioning into his true form. A deafening hiss filled the cave as Caspin lurched backward, pushing Tem away. "You need to leave," he growled. She barely understood the words. Two razor-sharp fangs were warping his mouth. His tongue was splitting in two. "No," she said. Caspin's hands were fisted into the mat, his back arched at an unnatural anger. "I am not asking." Before Tem had a chance to respond, his body jerked violently. It was as if someone had pulled him up by invisible strings before suddenly letting him drop. He fell back to the mat with an anguished roar, a sound so tortured that Tem wanted to cry. He's fighting it, she realized with a sudden clarity. But even Caspin could not resist the will of nature. Smoke filled the cave as his body thrashed with otherworldly strength. Somewhere in the fog of her shock, Tem remembered that if he looked her in the eyes while wearing his true form, she would die. His next command clapped like thunder in her mind. "Leave me, Tem." But she couldn't leave Caspin. It was the last thing she would ever do. Despite every one of her instincts screaming otherwise, Tem moved closer. He was barely a man anymore. His once smooth skin was now a shiny expanse of black scales. Sharp, rigid horns were puncturing his back, growing straight out of his spine. His angular head was pointed at the ground, and she knew it was his attempt to protect her. She pressed the palm of her hands to what remained of his shoulders. He was blazing hot. It took everything she had to keep touching him. But the second she made contact, he stilled. "Caspin," she whispered, "stay with me." A great shudder passed through him. Tem felt his scales ripple beneath her fingers, and despite their searing heat, she didn't relinquish her grip. "I cannot." Yes, she insisted. "You can." His consciousness was still joined with hers. She focused on their connection, tugging on the dark strands of his mind, pulling him even closer. He groaned, and another shudder tore through him. "Tem, you must go." "I'm not going anywhere." "It is not safe. I will hurt you." "You won't. I know you won't." The hiss surrounding them grew louder. His body was still changing, his head slowly rising towards her. "I cannot control it, Tem." "You have to try." "I am trying." His rage was palpable. Tem was dripping with sweat. She couldn't hold on much longer. Smoke seeped from between his scales, stinging her eyes. "Focus on something else," she begged. "Focus on me." Caspin didn't reply. Perhaps he was beyond response, but Tem could not be dissuaded. "Focus on me, Caspin." She said it firmly, like an order. "Close your eyes," he ordered back. "No, stay with me." Something was dripping onto the mat. Tem looked down to see blood seeping from Caspian's mouth. He was biting his own tongue. Caspian, please, she whispered. The energy in the room shifted suddenly, as if a strong wind had blown through the smoke. For the love of Cora, close your eyes. Caspian, she whispered again. Please, close your fucking eyes, Tem. Tem closed her eyes. The moment she did so, Caspian wrenched himself away from her. He was retreating into his body, tearing himself apart just to keep himself together. Tem didn't need to see him to know what was happening. She could do nothing to help him. She could do nothing but pray. But even her prayers weren't enough. She heard the ferocious growls that reverberated around the cave. She felt his mind violently extract itself from hers. The very air around her felt as if it had been set on fire. Tem knew on an instinctual level that he had transitioned, that she was now in the presence of a predator. For some inexplicable reason, she was not afraid. Instead, she felt the same pace she had felt the night before she came to the caves for the first time. She felt the same breath on her cheek, just one single breath, softer than a feather against her skin. She knew now that she had suspected she knew now what she had suspected then. It was Caspian in the dream. He had drawn her to him like a moth to a flame. Her eyes were still closed, but she longed to open them, needed to open them. She wanted to see Caspian in his true form. She wanted to understand this final, most fundamental part of him. It didn't matter that it would surely kill her. Tem had never been afraid of dying anyway. So she opened her eyes. Thick, black smoke filled the cave. It choked her throat and forced tears down her cheeks. A dark mass came into view in front of her. Even when she squinted, she couldn't make out its full shape. Tem. His voice was in her mind, in her body. It was everywhere. Caspian, she said in return. At his name, the claw pulsed, and Tem let out a desperate whimper. It was so much stronger than usual, as if his true form allowed his power to operate in full force. Again, she pleaded. Another pulse came, more intense than the first. Tem cried out as her clitoris throbbed with pain instead of pleasure. I'm getting whiplash! No, what the hell? I've literally just had like 2 pages of intense, like, oh, this shit got good. And now we're back to weird, creepy. You know what? I think I would actually enjoy this book if there was no sex, which is insane because that's literally the plot. Like she's a girl that's being trained to have sex so that she can win a sex competition. And somehow I think the intrigue, like the mystery, the drama, this would be so much better if it were like a fantasy thriller with no sex. Like, because the sex scenes are awful. Like, no, they're the smut, I think, takes away from this. I am more intrigued and more interested in the moments like where we have the interaction with her and Leo, and kind of that in conversation. This whole like horror scene that just happened in front of me, I was like, oh shit, this is great. And now that we're going back to the sex, I'm like, no. Now I'm uncomfortable. Now I hate this again. Like, what the hell? Like, and I'm not uncomfortable when it comes to sex. Just this I hate this. It got so good. It got weird and gross, and I was here for the weird and gross and horror. And I'm not here for the sex. The sex makes me cringe. Okay. Another pulse came, more intense than the first. Tem cried out as her clitoris throbbed with pain instead of pleasure. Beautiful. One word, but it was all she needed. Tem's hand went between her legs, pressing on the claw, fortifying their connection. The smoke skimmed over her skin in whirls and eddies, brushing her hair from her shoulders and exposing her breasts. She arched her back, wanting him to see that she could do anything, withstand anything for him. His next words filled the cave, penetrating every inch of the air. I could eat you alive. I could let you. Something was blossoming within her. Something real. Tem was seconds away from coming. She raised her hand, reaching for him. At first, there was only smoke. Then her fingers found purchase, brushing against the same scales she had felt earlier. She shifted forward, pressing her naked body against his. Tem knew immediately that she had gone too far. Caspin let out a roar of agony that nearly popped her eardrums. It echoed around the cave as Tem scrambled backwards, shielding her head with her hands. She could see his outline shrinking into the smoke. He was transitioning again, returning to his human form. Scales became skin, spikes became muscle. Tem felt the temperature drop as he retreated even farther, curling away from her in the darkness. Caspin, Tem started. I'm sorry. Before she could finish, the smoke cleared, and there was once more a man kneeling in front of her. Sweat ran in delicate rivulets down his chest, dripping along the hard lines of his torso. The firelight shone on his glistening body, making him appear as if he were glowing. His cock still had her blood on it. Caspin, Tem whispered. He looked at her, and she went cold at the fury in his eyes. What were you thinking? He hissed. What do you mean? I mean, what were you thinking? I could have killed you. But you didn't. That fact is nothing short of a miracle. You should have done as you were told. You should have left. I couldn't leave you. I cannot control myself when I am wearing my true form, Tem. You have no idea the danger you were in. You obviously can't, she reached for him, but he jerked away. You are a foolish, reckless girl. You do not follow instruction, and you do not use your brain. Caspin stood, crossing to her dress and throwing it down in front of her. Get dressed, he said, and go. He was shutting her out. She couldn't bear it. Not again. Caspin, she whispered, don't do this. I will only tell you one more time. Leave. Caspin, please. But he refused to look at her. Tem blinked away tears. She pulled her dress on gingerly, trying not to use her right hand, which was still bleeding. She was almost at the entrance of the cave when she heard her name. Tem. She turned. Caspin was behind her. Give me your hand, he said quietly. Tem hesitated. Then she held out her hand, and he took it in his, unfolding her fingers so that they were splayed open. Tem winced as he did so, and his eyes flicked up to hers before immediately returning to her palm. Her skin was red and raw, tiny drops of blood seeping to the surface between her freckles. The fucking freckles. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's like, ah! I think that's the part that bothers me the most. The like, they're I want to say there's potential, but like it's marred in so much shit. It's like it's a giant pile of manure with flecks of gold in it. Like, ugh. Caspin didn't say a word. He simply placed his palm over hers, and she felt a pulse transfer through his hand. Unlike the hot, lingering ones, he sent her through. Hold on. We're about to have a tech disaster. There we go. Aguántate. Siéntate, aguántate. Mi pinky pot. Bizcocho is trying to settle himself down into the bed as I've sunk myself down into this. Man, that was. If this needs to be a horror book. Whoever, Lindsay, think about writing horror. I think you might be surprised at how good you might be to do that. Like that's trust me, it's fun. Like the hot, Caspin didn't say a word. He simply placed his palm over hers, and she felt a pulse transfer through his hand. Unlike the hot, lingering ones he sent her through the claw,
This one was cool and soothing, and the fireplace dimmed for a brief moment before the pulse disappeared. When Caspin lifted his hand, her palm was smooth and healed. "Thank you," Tem whispered. She curled her fingers tentatively, surprised to see there was no lingering pain. Caspin didn't reply. He merely turned and disappeared into the shadows. With no other option, Tem left. It was the first time in a long time that Caspin hadn't walked her to the head of the trail, and she felt his absence deeply. Tem had no idea where they stood after tonight. She couldn't understand why everything had gone so wrong. It felt like things had progressed in a way they had never had before. Clearly, they were connected on an unprecedented level. Tem had never heard of anyone else bonding with their basilisk like this. There were so many unfinished conversations between them, so many frayed threats that led nowhere. It was nothing short of torture, but each time they got closer, Caspin pushed her away. By the time Tem got home, she was in the depths of despair. Her mother was already in bed, and Tem had no desire to lie in the dark with nothing but her thoughts for company. Instead, she walked out to the garden, sitting on her favorite bench and looking up at the stars. She saw the Alpha Serpentis, the brightest star in the serpents. The brightest star in the serpens. Serpens. Is this... I highly doubt this is a real constellation. If it is, I'm going to look like a dumbass, but I still highly doubt this is based on an actual constellation. Okay. It was supposed to shine the brightest. It was supposed to shine the brightest for the viewer when they needed it the most. And tonight, Tem felt as if it were shining just for her. Oh, there's just whiplash of cringe. I hate this writing. She wondered if Caspin was looking up at the same stars, or perhaps he had simply retreated beneath the mountain and removed her from his mind entirely. But Tem refused to believe that. It didn't seem possible that he wasn't thinking about what had happened tonight, that he wasn't thinking about her. Suddenly, their connection wasn't one-sided. Tem decided it was time to find out. She closed her eyes and concentrated, saying his name in her mind as forcefully as she could. Caspin. Silence. But Tem was determined. She would not let things end like this. She needed to know that what they had was worth repairing. So she said his name again, this time crying it out in her mind. Caspin! Silence. When Tem opened her eyes, they were filled with tears. Perhaps she shouldn't have bothered. Perhaps communicating with Caspin was contingent on his consent, and she was wasting her time trying to speak to someone who didn't wish to speak to her. It was utterly unfair. She was sick and tired of choices being made for her. She was sick and tired of Caspin holding all the power. A wave of frustration swept through her, and she stood up, screaming his name to the stars as she could shake them from the sky. Caspin! Silence, and then, there's no need to yell, Tem. Bum, bum, bum. There's not enough time for me to get into the next chapter, even though I feel like it's just going to be too long of a video. We're already at 43 minutes. And because there was so much bullshittery in the first few pages. So you guys are just going to have to wait until next week. Not that I'm getting that many views on these videos anyway, so it's not like there's a whole slew of people like knocking down my door. I feel like the few people that are watching this are just waiting to binge them anyway. So, alright. Thank you for hanging out with me during this. I may or may not film another video right after this since I want to know what's happening. Like I said, flecks of gold in a giant pile of manure. There's moments where I'm like, oh, this is actually intriguing. I actually want to know what's going to happen next. And then there's other times where I'm like, I want to burn this book. I mean, I've said it 3 times. I want to burn this book. So yeah. Anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below what you think. If you want me to continue this, I'm going to continue it anyway. Until I finally just throw this out the window, throw myself out the window. Who knows? I might start a coffee soon just because I'm trying to make a little bit of extra money. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Engage. Send it to your friends. Like, subscribe. All the good things. Love you guys. Hope you have a good night. And I'll see y'all next time. Ciao, 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 ciao. Bye.